Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in today. This is a very special program that I've wanted to do for a while. If you follow me on Twitter, you know one of the people that I go back and forth with a lot is Andrew and Cathy Daub. Their Twitter handle is The Resolute Life, and they've got a very special young man right there, Iron Will. I've just fallen in love with that little guy, and I'm not embarrassed to say that at all because I have a real soft spot in my heart for kids. So this is a special program, and I hope you all enjoy it. Cathy, Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jeff.
And Iron Will, welcome to the show, buddy.
See hi.
Yeah, there you go. He's got that shaken, not stirred thing down pretty good.
Exactly right. That's exactly right.
So I thought we'd just kind of start at the beginning. How did you two meet? Were you childhood sweethearts, or did you meet later?
No, maybe in some other life. We met. We met doing kind of family advocacy, and some pro-life volunteerism and work. And I thought she was pretty cute, and I think she was just kind of sitting there waiting for me to actually ask her out, and finally I did. So I think everybody around us knew that I was supposed to. It just took me a little bit.
I understand that. a lot. Well, you did good there, partner. That's what I can say. Your professions, I know you were in the military, Andrew, but I don't know what you do now, and I don't know what Cathy does. Cathy may be a full-time mom, but I'm not sure. So let's kind of get that out of the way.
So I continue to do security and protection stuff. I did. Yes, I was. So I was in the Army, and then they asked me to keep doing that as a civilian. So I do that now.
Good.
So, and yes, Cathy is full-time homemaker, wife and mother, and especially, we have 8 children total. So she is fully engaged, more than I am actually. So that's fully employed.
That's the toughest job in the world. I'm not kidding you. Another guy that I'm friends with, Noah Glanville, who does pit barrel cookers. He was a Navy medic, and then he worked with the SEAL team. And even though he runs that barbecue company, he still does some security work too. So
nice,
really good guy. Were you in Missouri to start with?
No, we bounced around. We were in several places. We came from Virginia. Was the last place we came before we got here. Now, I grew up in Missouri, so it was nice to actually come back. And my last duty station was over at Scott Air Force Base in Illinois. And all of my family is on the Missouri side. So we were pretty pleased with that. And then we just decided to stick around in this location. So
sure, absolutely. 8 kids. And you got a lot of boys.
A lot of boys.
Yeah.
7 boys total.
How do you keep them in line, Cathy?
They're all pretty good, aren't they, Will? Oh, you just got to
Will.
back down.
Hey, Will.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah, you know what? Once you have 2 or 3, then having more is kind of easy because they all kind of play together and grow when they were growing up. Yeah, the boys especially, like they all have similar interests. And then we have one daughter who's 6. So she's the only girl.
That's Tango, isn't it?
Tango. Yes, but she's the perfect one to be next in line to Iron Will here. She takes good care of him.
Yeah, I see that in your films and your pictures. They're pretty tight. It looks like
they are.
How do all the kids interact with Will? From everything I can see, man, they are like he is the gemstone of the Daub family.
He is, and they've always been. All of our boys have kind of always been pro-life advocates and just really, they're kind, they're charitable. They always try to include other people. They've had, we know several other people who have children with disabilities. So they're friends with, we know a 21-year-old who has Down syndrome, and they've been friends with him for a long time. So they were, very well prepared, I feel like, to welcome Iron Will here, and a couple of them have even had to defend him online. People will post things, especially to my Instagram account, that are very uncharitable, and the boys always back him up. Always take people to task and say, just talk about how great he is and what a blessing he is to our family. So
well, sure he is, and that was one of my questions a little later on. But will jump into it now with your Instagram and your Twitter. I'm definitely part of Team Iron Will or the Iron Will Legion, whatever you want to call it. But every once in a while, somebody will post something I really have a hard time believing that in this day and age they would actually do that. But how do you deal with that? I mean, do your kids get their offended, feelings hurt, or are they just adamant about defending the big guy there?
I would say I don't think they get their feelings hurt so much as they get really fired up about being even stronger advocates for him and for other people with Down syndrome. So I don't think they've gotten their feelings hurt so much, though. I mean, on his behalf, maybe. On his behalf. Yeah. I think as he gets older, and we've had a couple incidences in stores and things. Those are more personal. Those feel more attacking than online, because online usually it's a troll or it's somebody who's hurting, or you can kind of shoo that away and laugh that off. But when it happens in person, that's a bit more hard to take.
Oh
so.
Yeah. Like, hey Will. Hi. Hi, buddy. Hey, Will. Boy. You're gonna be a TV star before you know it. That's that.
I will tell you, Jeff. I have Cathy has been great for me because she's definitely a merciful person and an understanding person.
I understand.
And is always looking for the good in other people. That's not something that comes naturally to me.
Right.
And so I admire and respect that greatly. And slowly but surely, some of that is worn off on me, right? Because I aspire to be like that. With the boys, especially, I watch myself because, especially, having been a soldier and a father and a husband and a protector across the board, your first inclination is to respond with force, right? Like to come in and jump on the person and respond in kind. And that's probably counterproductive in most of these situations,
sure.
Especially like, you kind of noted when you see that somebody's hurting or broken themselves. No, people don't say that kind of stuff if they're not already in a dark place themselves, right?
Right.
If something isn't already happening. And so there's been a couple times where I've getting ready to fire off a salvo, right? And Cathy will be like, and right, that's all I need really to hear from her is,
Yep.
You can do that, right? And I'm like, okay, obviously I have to adjust fire. But it's good for me as a guide, especially with our sons, because I don't want that to be their first inclination, right? So,
right.
And so it forces me to, whether it's an online involvement or incident or a face-to-face one, that our example is probably critical. How we react in that moment is always critical in terms of the example that we set for not just the person that we're engaging, but for our children, because our faith is very important to us. And so we try to guide, our lives with our faith and inform our decisions based on it. And so that's probably more critical in terms of how we interact with people out there that want to give Will a hard time.
It's got to be tough though when you're in a up close and personal situation, because like Cathy said, and you said, Andrew, that I've had to train myself not to fire, aim, fall back type thing. You know what I mean? I've had to do that because I was always a very competitive person. But since I've been married for a long time, I now hit the pause button on some things, and that's helped me.
Yes, sir. Yep, exactly, Jeff.
It helps me because sometimes you can overstep a little bit. Maybe we're better equipped than the opponent. You know what I mean? And then it could be a tough situation. When you got 7 kids, and you got lots of boys, and are you homeschooling?
I do, yes. We homeschool. Yes.
Okay. And then one day, all of a sudden, you get the news, and here comes Iron Will. And By the way, I wrote this down here. I said I think he is the world champion when it comes to cute. I mean, he just is. But what was it like when you were told that Will had the extra gene, and did you realize what it meant at the time?
So we had actually done some prenatal testing to find out. We just wanted to know if we were having another boy or a girl.
Sure.
So we did an early blood test. And with that test, they do some genetic testing. We weren't really concerned because we figured even if there was something came back, it's not like, we were going to love this child anyway.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
But the day that we found out, the doctor called. We were actually out looking at Christmas lights with all the kids, and I wanted to do a big gender reveal. So they knew what was happening. The doctor called. I got out of the car, and he asked me, could he talk to us alone? And then I knew right away that there was, that he was going to tell me something other than the gender of our baby. So then he called back, and I stepped out of the car in the middle of the Christmas light display. And I said, just tell me what is it?
Yeah.
And he said, first he said, you're having a boy, congratulations. And he said, he does have a 99% chance of having Down syndrome. And my immediate reaction was, that's okay. We're okay with that. We're totally fine. Because we have a niece with Down syndrome as well. So we kind of knew the secret, but it still was very overwhelming. I got back in the van. Of course, they just all wanted to know if it was a boy or a girl. I refused to tell anyone, which caused big trouble. But I'm glad, hindsight, that I did it that way because I needed, and I'm sure Andrew needed, we needed time to just process a little bit. So we got home, I cried, not because I was disappointed, but because it was different. It was something, it was a little, and then I made the mistake of Googling Down syndrome and pregnancy. And the first thing that popped up was that my chances of miscarrying him would stay at 30% through the entire 9 months. And we had already had 9 miscarriages.
Oh boy.
So then the fear really kicked in. And I knew I needed to go. I went to the doctor. They checked on him. He was fine. But we went ahead with the gender reveal a couple days later. We did not tell the boys right away that he had Down syndrome because I didn't want my fear of the unknown to impact how they took that news. I wanted to celebrate the fact that we were having another baby. We're having a boy. So we did the gender reveal. It was great. And about a week later, at dinner, we told them, that there was a very good chance that the baby had Down syndrome, and they were completely unfazed. As a matter of fact, one of our sons said, he's lucky. I wish I had Down syndrome. And I said, what do you mean by that? And he said, well, he's closer to Jesus. He'll be closer to Jesus than we'll ever be, because he knew, having met other people with Down syndrome, that there's something special about them, that they don't have the capacity for like hate that we have or anger. Right. They have this capacity to love unconditionally. And he was, only like 13 at the time, but very envious of the fact that his little brother was going to have an extra chromosome. So I would say, they took the news very, very, very well. And, after he was born, of course, we had lots, it was very different. Lots of medical stuff popped up. But they've kind of handled it all with great grace from the very, very beginning. So.
Did he chomp on your shoulder then?
He thinks it's funny.
I'll tell you a quick story about that. I used to travel a lot, and I hadn't been home for a couple weeks. Right before the 4th of July, I got home. Our daughter was 3. She comes running up the driveway, not very far, jumps up into my arms. She got so excited she bit me right up here, and she wouldn't let go.
Oh, man.
Shelly had to come get her and yank her off my neck. So it was like, I know that feeling. I can tell from your posts and what we've talked about here, your faith is a huge part in your life. Did it become stronger once you found out about Iron Will potentially having Down syndrome or having Down syndrome?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
Over
definitely.
time, I will tell you. Cathy was talking about the boys and our children's reaction in Tango Tango. When she first told them to, their general reaction, Jeff, was she said, we're having a boy and he has Down syndrome, or there's a good chance he has Down syndrome. And their other response was, okay, moving on, right? Which is beautiful because there was no hesitation, no innate fear for them. Obviously a little bit different for us. Like Cass said, I mean, it was really it was a fearful pregnancy for her. And overall, and I had a pretty good concept and understanding of what having a child with Down syndrome involved. When the doctor told us to, and we have just a fantastic doctor. And at one point he said, "Hey, Andrew, are you okay with this? How are you doing?" And I said, "I gotta be honest, Doc, I'm not." When you told me we were having a baby and I'm 50 years old, I was shocked then. When you told me we were having a baby with Down syndrome, I wasn't really shocked, right? So the shocking part was having a child. So especially being a protector and a provider, and loving my wife, watching her be fearful is hard, right? Because there's only so much I can do. I can't quell that fear, and I'm already feeling it myself. And you want to be strong and steadfast, and especially for military guys, sometimes that doesn't come across the right way, right?
Right.
Then you just impervious or detached. So, but as William came into the world, boy, that has just shifted. And I think our children are amazing and we love them. We have a great family. We love being with each other. Hold that. Or don't. But he brings an incredible amount of joy constantly, right? Just consistently. He's very joyful. So he's always smiling. He's always engaged. He's always moving.
Yeah.
And so it's just such a great opportunity for all of us. So for me, I call him, well, you know that, Jeff, I call him my tactical pause because it can be something from work or whatever that's maybe got me on edge or I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And I can spend, 5 seconds and my blood pressure comes down and my heart rate stabilizes and all that kind of stuff, right? And then all of our sons and you see Tango, man, they just, and he's gone. So Sierra 3 just took him for places, right? So, but for all of our children, man, he's such a great distraction in a worthy way, right?
Sure.
Not like a distraction like, hey, I'm going to ignore all my chores and my schoolwork, although maybe that does happen sometimes. But such a great distraction in the sense that they can't walk by in a room without stopping and engaging him, right?
Yeah.
So they might be on their way downstairs or to the kitchen or whatever, and he's there, and you can't go by him without going and coming over and engaging him. And I love that. Cathy and I talk about that all the time. I just love watching how they engage with him and how it's not just for him, it's for them, right? And that's one of those things that we've talked about. It's that whole, it is in giving that we receive, right? And I think all of us have felt that and understand that now, and have actually elevated that understanding because, man, sometimes it's really about what we need from Iron Will as opposed to what he needs from us, right?
Yeah.
You give him his bottle shaken, not stirred, and a ball and whatever, that dude's going, man. He's good to go. But for the rest of us, it's really just this soulful, deep engagement with him that brings us such joy and calm, I think. So,
well, I can see that, especially in some of the pictures and videos you post, and in some of them I can't see your face, But like when he's cradled in your arm doing his bottle and he's about half asleep, I bet you I could draw, and I can't draw worth a dang, but I bet you I could draw the calmness on your face just from never even haven't seen you, but live, but 15 minutes ago. You know what I mean? You could just tell that. You can tell it in your body structure and your motion, and the little guy's just there going after his bottle, or he's just conked out. Those are some great images, because that tells the world, to me it tells the world how much not only he means to you, but how relaxed and how should I say it? Go back to the 60s, kind of mellows the whole family out,
100%.
Yeah, like that. And so what did you think when you first saw Will? You've got that one picture that you post every once in a while where he's all kind of swaddled up and he's just got his little face out there. It's just cute as a bug. I'll start with Cathy, if you don't mind, with that. When after you gave birth to Will and all that, and you saw him and you held him, I mean, you probably just, everything went whoosh.
Yes. It makes me emotional thinking about it, because for me, it was this complete relief, like to be so scared that he wasn't going to make it here. And then to be holding him and looking at this like perfect little miracle, because I don't know, you probably don't know this, but I actually had surgery in the middle of my pregnancy. I had abdominal surgery.
Oh, no.
It was an emergency surgery. So William was 22, 23 weeks. And we had to rush to the hospital. I had an intestinal, my intestines were all twisted up or something. But so they had to do emergency surgery, and our doctor was there. He called himself our insurance policy. He was there. He's ready to baptize the baby, because they told me that Will might have to be born early in the middle of a pandemic.
You're right.
So, and we made it through that miraculously. He wasn't, they had originally told us they were going to remove him, hold him to the side, do surgery, and then put him back, which was terrifying. They did not end up having to do that miraculously. I just needed, they were able to go in laser surgery and fix everything. And then when he was born early, about 3 weeks early. And again, I had some complications. So we rushed in, we knew he was going to be born. And then towards the end of delivering him, his heart rate started to drop. Every contraction, his heart rate would drop. The doctor and the nurses were whispering, which he was my 8th baby. So I knew that was not,
yeah.
I'd never seen that before. And I knew I should be alarmed. But like Andrew said, we have an amazing doctor. He made sure Will was born very quickly. He had the cord wrapped around his neck 3 times and wrapped around his body, which is why every time I had a contraction, his heart rate would drop, because I was essentially squeezing him. The umbilical cord was. But so when they handed him to me, I just burst into tears. It was such a relief to know, that he was here, and to look at him and go, he's completely perfect. He's just perfect. And so, yeah, that was for me. It was just complete, just relief, because I knowing that he could be, that I could miscarry him at any time up through 9 months was just this, I was just a ball of anxiety the entire pregnancy.
Well, he made it. I mean, he made
it. And yeah, and it was kind of a surreal moment for me, because I just anticipated something going wrong the entire time, and it didn't. He made it. We had some bumps in the road, but he made it, and he was perfectly healthy. Even though the cord was wrapped all around his neck, he wasn't blue. He cried right away. Yeah, he was just, it was perfect. So.
What about you, AD? Did you melt?
I did. What's so funny, Jeff, is that Kath and I joke about this now. I don't know if she thought it was as funny at the beginning, but when we got married, before we got married, I said, hey, she said, I want to have a bunch of children. And I'm like, great. Just so you know, I just want to have all sons. I just want to have all boys and go fishing and shooting and do all kinds of stuff. And she's like, oh, goodness, if anybody needs a daughter, you do, right? So, and then eventually we got Tango. And, but one of the things that we would always joke about is I would always tell her, I'm like, hey, listen, I don't want to be in the delivery room with you at all, okay? So not that I don't love you, it's just, I just don't want to experience that. And
wuss.
yeah, exactly, right? So exactly. So the first one, I was in the delivery room, and it was a natural birth, and it validated every reason that I had for not being in the delivery room, right? So 100%, I was like, I told you that. So I was traumatized. It's still to this day. So, but I will tell you that on this last one, with Iron Will, I just remember Cathy telling me multiple times, man, I'm so glad you're able to be with me and be in here, and me feeling the same way. And then when Iron Will was born, I just remember, he comes out and they immediately swaddle him and do all that good stuff. And I just remember, I think my first words to her were, he's good, he's perfect, right? And because for us, it wasn't about, I didn't come over and say, hey, he looks like he has Down syndrome, or he doesn't look like he has Down syndrome, like some goofy statement. It was just, hey, our baby's here and he's healthy and he's with us. And then being able to kind of take that collective breath, right?
Yeah.
Okay, after all of this, especially for Cathy, and knowing how hard it was on her, and then just being able to go, okay, check, first block, he's here. Now we'll move on, next phase, and take it from there. So,
well, he's been rolling ever since.
Never stop, sir.
When my daughter was born, same thing. I was there. My wife had to have a C-section, and they brought her out, and they immediately take her over to this little nurses station where they clean them up and do all that stuff. And I knew that I was done. I was hosed, because when they were cleaning her up, she reached over with her little tiny hand and grabbed my little finger.
Oh, nice.
I'm done. I mean, whatever you want, kid, you got it.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir.
Yeah, that's the deal. How's he progressing? I mean, from what I can see on the videos and the pictures and stuff, I mean, his mobility's going. He's almost at tier 1. You better watch out there, Andrew. But I mean,
working on it.
He's working on it, But he's doing that because you posted one a week or so ago where he didn't have the seat in his little walker.
Right.
Yeah, and he's just hoofing it around there, and he's standing up. That's great.
Yeah.
He is. We had a couple therapy appointments today. They come to the house, which is really nice. But they were telling me because now I don't know if you saw the video where he's standing and he can hit the baseball off the tee. So she said, which I hadn't really thought about. She said, when you said he could do this, I expected him to take the bat with one hand and just kind of swat at it. She's like, but two hands, he knows he's supposed to hit the ball and he's hitting it. She said, I have 2.5-year-olds that can't do that. So he's he's doing very well. He's like PT and OT. We still have some feeding things with him. But we couldn't be more thrilled because he went through some seizures early on that they had kind of told us might delay him a little bit further. But he's just keeps beating the odds. He just keeps exceeding everyone's expectations. And he's kind of crushing it. And I do attribute a lot of that to his siblings. I mean, Tango will not, she does not take no for an answer. She will sit there with him and stack blocks and do hand over hand until he gets it right. Like she's probably the best therapist he could ever have.
Yeah.
She has no degree, but she, she's the one that put him on the skateboard the first time. That wasn't our idea. That was her. Because she likes to ride the skateboard up and down the hallway. And one day I just looked over and she had him sitting on it and she's going up and down the hallway. And now he can go up and down the hallway by himself because he's got his core strength is so good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say he's doing amazing.
Well, it looks good, and I love it. Like you had a little yellow board game where you punch, and I don't know, numbers come up or symbols. You can't really tell from the film, but he was determined. He was going to get that right. By golly, it was not. Yes. He was doing that, and I was laughing my butt off because I just thought that's why they call you Iron Will.
Yeah.
Right. That's
Kath talked about his siblings too, and they're critical. I think that's why, we see these leaps and bounds. So, and I think I said, I can't remember if I said yesterday or the other day, but I was talking about every little we celebrate every little accomplishment.
Sure.
For him because they're actually huge accomplishments, right? And one of the things that Cathy said earlier on, I think it was maybe from a therapist, is we're on the same journey that everybody else is in terms of raising our child. It's just we're kind of taking the scenic route. So we're seeing and learning a lot more and experiencing a lot more. And when earlier on, Jeff, you talked about, what's the impact on us? And I'll tell you, it's kind of a joke with our children that I joke about passing out celebrating mediocrity awards, right? And because I don't like to do that. So I want our children to earn everything and not just be handed anything. And they're great. They're great teammates for each other. They're very they're athletic. They love being outdoors, but they love helping people. And so they always get to where they're supposed to be going, but they get there in the right way, right? So not by stepping on others, not by being handed anything. And so initially I was like, man, okay, each little thing with Iron Will, I'm like, yay, we clap and like he pushes down on a button and we're like, yay, and now he does it, right? Because he's an attention hog, so he's just like, hey, everybody, he'll do it at the kitchen table. It'll be 20 minutes straight, and everybody at the table has to sit there and clap, right? He'll start, and he knows we're clapping for him. But it's kind of forced me to shift my perspective, and not in a bad way, but in a great way. Like rather than just saying, okay, we're just going to clap for him, recognizing why we're clapping for him, and then understanding that, man, every single day for that little guy, he earns. Nothing is given to him. He earns every single bit of it. And it's just, it's awesome to watch. It's inspiring for me because every time I feel like, not that I don't complain about stuff, but when I do, I'm like, man, shut up, Drew. Just move on from what's bothering me and look at him, look at other people in situations like him.
Yeah.
The most vulnerable in our society and the people that are dealing with disabilities and go, man, I got nothing to complain about ever. So he just such a great impact on our lives, I think, just in that sense.
All little kids can get upset or cranky sometimes. I'm assuming Will does that too. I mean,
yeah.
Yep.
Does he let you know more so than the other kids?
I don't know. So he does it kind of in a different way. Like he goes from being mad to being happy almost instantly. Like he doesn't hold a grudge. Like even in the doctor, like, he's been poked and prodded more than any of the rest of us. But he'll go from, they're trying to draw his blood, and he'll go from crying to smiling and high-fiving them when it's all over. Like he doesn't, he just bounces back quickly. He experiences the full range of emotions. He gets frustrated, he gets sad, he gets mad, he gets all of those things that every other toddler feels, but he does bounce back a lot faster than some of our other kids did, or maybe a neurotypical child would. And I think that is one of the gifts of Down syndrome, is that they don't, people with Down syndrome, they don't hold grudges. I mean, at least that's been our experience with William. But yeah, he'll let you know I've been trying to get him to say mama forever. He says dad beautifully, but he will not say mama. So the other day, we have like a little gate up between our kitchen and the living room, and he was in the living room, I was in the kitchen. He couldn't get to me, and I was helping Tango at the table. So I wasn't paying attention to him, and he was trying to get my attention, and all of a sudden he goes, mama. And I'm like, did everybody hear that? He said it. Because I knew he could say it. He just doesn't. And maybe it's because I'm with him, 24/7.
Sure.
But I was but he was frustrated. He was like, it wasn't like mama. It was like mama. So yeah, he experiences the full range of emotions. That's one of the things that drives me crazy, is when people say things like, oh, they try to box in people with Down syndrome.
Right.
They're always happy, or they never do this, or they always do. And none of that is true. They're just like, they're just like you and I. And they do experience that full range of emotions.
Yeah, my kid held a grudge, though. One time she didn't speak to me for 3 weeks. And she was little. I didn't know why. I never did know why. But just she got ticked off at me for something, and I'm glad I went back out on the road for about 10 days. When I came home, she was all good. He's progressing well. You said he's a normal kid, really. He has good days and bad days and stuff like that. You've developed a pretty good following on social media, and besides some of the harsh comments and stuff like that, what are most of your I see the ones on Twitter that Andrew does, okay? And they range from guys like me and some of your buddies saying, watch out, like he had the George Patton helmet on the other day, and I said, just hope he just doesn't develop that lexicon that Patton had for a while, like that. And then you'll have some of your other military friends, make comments. Then you have other people are just like, man, that kid wins the cute of the planet award, like that. How do you deal with all that? I mean, you got to be proud and all that. And Will's too little to let it go to his head, but like one of the brothers ever pick him up and say, yeah, you're not that cute today, and give him a noogie on the head or something, give him a hard time.
Oh, they do. It's funny because Cat's far more successful at social media than I am. And I've been opposed to it my whole life, mostly because of what I do and everything. But then with Iron Will, I was like, man, this goodness, I just want to share it with the world, And
sure.
So that's kind of when I made my foray into Twitter. And that's the only social media that I have. But I'll tell you, for me, I watch and I'm so motivated by the comments from y'all, like just people's replies, because they're so genuine. And you see, Jeff, like there's been on Twitter, there's maybe been one or two incidents where somebody has said something negative, right? Or insightful, not insightful in the good way, but like INCIT.
Yeah.
And so I look at that and then I compare that to literally the thousands of comments where people have engaged him and they're motivated by him and they adore him. And I look at it and I say, man, okay, it's certainly not about me, right? Which is why you don't really see me in the pictures, because people don't want to see me. They want to see Iron Will. And I think a couple of times when I've been in there, they're like, yeah, that's great, dude. Move out. There's a picture of Iron Will. Like,
yeah.
So I'm tracking with that, right? So, but I'll tell you what, from our perspective, it's been such a great opportunity from my perspective on Twitter to advocate, not just for Iron Will, right? To share who he is with the world, but then to advocate so that people maybe when they go out into society, they go to a job, they go to the mall, whatever they're doing, that maybe they look at other people differently, and not in a judging way, but maybe in an understanding way.
Right.
And maybe the next time that they're inclined to make fun of someone for speaking in a different way, or stuttering, or someone with learning disabilities, or maybe using the term retarded. I mean, that's one that's out there, and a lot of good people use it, and they don't use it intentionally to be, I don't think, to be discriminatory. There's always an association with it that's probably not positive. And I've actually had a couple engagements on Twitter where somebody has said that, and I was like, hey, maybe we can find a different word to describe what you're talking about. And one of them started off really inflammatory, and by the time we were done, I think dude was doing virtual hugs with me, right? So it was great. He's like, I'm going to look for other terms. But I think that's, for us, we love seeing people see Iron Will in the way that we do.
Right.
We love being their eyes with him 24/7 and giving them a different perspective, and just really reinforcing the gift that he is and the gifts that all of these people, the most vulnerable in our society, are. That's my perspective. Kat, she's far more engaged on it and far better at it, so I'll let you.
No. But no, I feel the same way. I mean, we started the page for advocacy. I never had Facebook. I never had Instagram. I never had any of that with our other children. And so our kids understand it's not about just promoting William and having him get a big ego or something. It's about advocacy. It's about showing the beauty of the day-to-day. And 99% of the comments on Instagram too are positive. You get that random, every once in a while, you get the random troll. I've probably had a couple dozen negative comments, but for every negative one, I get 100, 200, 300 positives. So, and a lot of people that are saying things like, I've never met anyone with Down syndrome. So thank you. Thank you for sharing him. I wake up every morning and I want to see what he's doing. I didn't realize that using that R word was bad. I'm not going to use it anymore. So I feel like that's what keeps us going and keeps us on social media is the advocacy part, because close to 70% of children with Down syndrome are aborted in this country.
Right.
When it's found out that they have Down syndrome before they're born. And so that means there's a lot of work to do in terms of shifting the narrative and showing people that, he's not a burden. He's beautiful. He's a gift. He blesses everyone he meets. Andrew comes from a family. He's the oldest of 12. We walk into a family party, which is like 100 people. I never get to see him because he gets taken from me the minute we get in there, and then he gets passed all around. And there was one party, this wasn't a family member, it was someone else, but someone who was, that we know. And she was like really grouchy, like over the top grouchy. But she walked up to me and even in a grouchy voice said, "Can I hold him?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I handed him to her and she just melted. All of it melted. She was smiling within like 30 seconds. And so it's just his impact to people that we know is so huge. So we thought, all right, let's share him, because we want people to see this is not hard. I had him at 49, and it's not hard. He's not difficult. He's not a burden. He's just a huge blessing, and we couldn't be more thrilled to have him. And so I like to share him in that way, just see what an impact he's making on people that we don't even really know.
I don't know what the stats are, but from what I can tell, a majority of the people with Down syndrome grow up and be very productive folks. A lot of them have independent jobs. Some of them live independently. They may live in a complex that specializes in people with Down syndrome or something, and then some are just independent on their own. But they take public transportation, or they fend for themselves and do stuff. They're just like us. That's the thing.
Yeah, there are two people that stick out to me. One, her name is Charlie. She's about to get married. She has Down syndrome. She's 27. She's been encouraging me pretty much since William was born. I think she found Andrew first on Twitter, and then she started following me. Yeah. But she has been so encouraged. She learned to read before she was 3. Mm-hmm. And she has Down syndrome. So she's been encouraging me to work with William and try to get him to read, to be able to recognize words like sight words. She lives on her own. She's, like I said, she's about to get married. She lives on her own. She's in law school. She's got straight A's, but she was telling me she learns differently. So her professors have to write out their lectures for her because she has to see the words. She can't just hear it and learn. And then there's another, I think he's like 25. I can't remember his name. He just started following William. I think he might be a friend of Charlie's, but he's like, he speaks 4 languages. He's like 25 years old, speaks 4 languages, plays the violin, has done all the Special Olympics. And he was encouraging me to get William swimming lessons now because, he was like, he'd do really well. And just, so I see people like that and I think they're just like us. And maybe it'll take William a little longer to learn something, but he'll get there. And if he lives independently one day, great. If he doesn't, he's got us and then 7 siblings that are, they fight now over who he gets to live with when we're gone.
We're not even gone.
Not even gone, and they're already like, no, he's coming to live with me. No, he's coming to live with me. So whatever happens, we're okay with it. If William becomes an entrepreneur one day, we'll be thrilled. If he doesn't and he just lives with us and is a bagger at the grocery store, we'll be thrilled. He's whatever God's plan is for him. We're just excited to get like a front row seat and be part of it and see what God does with him.
There you go.
I think we all know, Jeff, that God's plan for William is that he be the first tier 1 operator.
Yep.
With Down syndrome.
He'll fly a Black Hawk before
easily.
he gets out of high school.
All of those things, right?
Yeah. Before he gets out of high school, so to speak.
That's right.
He'll be out there and learning to dodge those stingers and stuff. He'll be good with that. You said he had a little GERD for a while, or I don't know. Is that getting better?
He still has it. The feeding therapist was here today, so we're working on trying to get him. He has trouble swallowing like thin liquids. So we're about to get another swallow study on him. He can swallow purees, like things like oatmeal, things that are a little thicker. But we're still kind of working with him, and reflux, it kind of gone away, but it came back. So we just started up on the medicine again, and we're just keeping an eye on it.
So it's interesting when you relate everything back to purpose and what someone brings, expectedly or unexpectedly. We reinforce resilience in our boys. Perseverance is big in our family. Pushing through stuff. We do tests of perseverance where they undertake hard tasks like push-ups until muscle failure, all of us together, or eating something hot or eating a bug or whatever it is, right? So, and they're all so hardcore, even Tango. Actually, she might be the hardest core out of all of them. But they're amazing. So we talk about the GERD and his reflux and stuff. One of the things that I watched, that I watch it with such love and pride in my heart, because I want all of them to be successful, honor God, make a contribution to society. But I watch them, and they'll be holding William from the time that he was born. They'll be holding him, and that dude, he'll projectile vomit, right? Like, so he'll just burn. And I've seen it time and again, Jeff, where whether it's in church, it's at the dinner table, in the living room, at a party, whatever it is, a family event, he'll regurgitate all over one of our guys, one of our sons, and they don't flinch, right? I mean, they're just like, and their first action is always, they'll sit there, they'll be soaked, and their first action is always, they'll get a paper towel or napkin, and they'll clean him off. They'll clean him off and make sure that he's okay, and then they'll take care of themselves. And I like, it's such a great metaphor for me. For who they are and then what he brings. And I never cease to be amazed every time I see that, and just so touched by it, because they don't bring attention to themselves. They're just like, wipe them down, hand to Cathy or myself, clean off their nice dress shirt, and continue mission. And I just love that. I just love that they do this.
I'm familiar with that projectile stuff. I remember I remember that very well. Just kind of bleh, It's kind of like in Guardians of the Galaxy when the little tree barfs, baby Groot barfs out like that. I thought that was one of the funniest, most innocuous scenes in a movie that I'd ever seen. He's
very relevant.
Yeah, very relevant. Is he doing better with his hearing too?
He is. So they put tubes in his ears, and he continued to fail the hearing test. So they were thinking that maybe he had some permanent hearing loss. But the last time we went in, where they did a sedated test, and he didn't pass it 100%, but they determined he can hear all the sounds necessary for language. So we no longer have to wear they gave it to us because they think maybe he could possibly have to use it again later, because you can have some degenerative stuff going on and they're not sure. But for now, we took the hearing aid off because he can hear all the sounds. And before they put the tubes in his ears, he could not. And I love how the like early intervention, I mean, he had that thing on from like 3 months or something forward. And the whole reason behind it was so that he could hear all the sounds that we were making. And they would be in his brain, so that when he does start speaking, that will help him have, less of a speech impediment, or he'll be able to make those sounds because they registered in his brain.
So I want to ask you the over and under odds that each of you individually think that once Iron Will actually starts talking and enunciating, will he ever be quiet?
He's not quiet now.
No, I don't think so. No, he's definitely going to be, he's going to be a talker. Yeah. He has that personality that he just, it's funny because some mornings he'll wake up and he doesn't make a sound for hours, but then all of a sudden he starts babbling, and, you've seen the videos. He talks with his hands. So for him, it's just, he speaks when he wants to, and when he doesn't want to, he's completely quiet.
Maybe he's got a future in the radio and TV business.
That could be too, which would be huge.
Yeah.
He's great at mimicry too, Jeff. I think is one of the things that makes us laugh so hard. He's got his knife hand down, right? So when he's providing direction, usually to Big Mac, the dog, Iron will be like, blah, 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 blah. So he's great at mimicking, which makes us laugh, but it's probably really developmental as well, right? Because he's learning inflection and how to enunciate, and so that's pretty funny. He's got that down, and he has, like Cathy says, he has a lot of words that maybe he doesn't say, but that he knows. And every once in a while, they'll slip out, and you can see instantly he's like, "Oh, they weren't supposed to know that I can say that," right? Then he'll kind of go back into whatever. So, but which is pretty darn funny for us. But he's rarely quiet, which I think is a good thing. And I think maybe part of that is because, with 7 children, he has 7 siblings. With that, the house is very active and very alive, and probably very loud at times. And so he's very much a part of that and witnesses that. And so I think there's just constant engagement, which means constant development for him.
Yeah.
And that's paying huge dividends so far. So.
Well, I got to tell you, I really think you've done a great thing for the world by sharing Iron Will with everybody. I really do. I am not being sappy or anything else. I just think that that's been a great thing, and hopefully it's a learning experience for certain people. Yeah. We can't all be perfect like Andrew and me, but that's okay. But no, seriously, there's so much that people can learn from just watching your posts with Iron Will. If you get right down to it, like you were just talking about giving direction to the dog and stuff, if you really pay attention to what the little guy's doing, you can learn a lot from him.
Yeah.
You really can. It's been a terrific honor to talk to you guys and to let me do a show like this. I haven't done a show like this in a long time, so and I enjoyed it. But and to meet you both so we could actually see each other. But it's been great, and we're going to follow up and make sure that Iron Will is leading the charge all the time.
There you go. Outstanding.
Yeah, he'll do that. Folks, thanks for listening. Again, we've been talking with Cathy and Andrew Daub. If you follow Andrew on Twitter, it's The Resolute Life. Cathy, what's your Instagram?
It's Will's Journey 21.
Okay, Will's Journey 21. And you can find it if you just type. You can't just type in Iron Will in Google because they still revert you back to that movie from a long time ago.
Exactly.
So you can't do that. This has been great, and thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
No problem.